Hello, welcome to my podcast. I am so grateful you are back here joining me as I take us through the continued journey of what Michael and I have been through with his brain injury. And I am hoping that this take sticks. I have had to start over 3 or 4 times because first of all, my dog won't be quiet. And then Michael keeps forgetting that I asked for some silence to do some recording, and he was just creeping down the stairs and he was like, I gotta take my pill. He's got a noon or a pill he has to take every day, and he remembered to take it. I'm so proud of him, but please also remember to stay out of here. I need some quiet. Okay, great. So here we are, just real life, y'all. This is what it's come to. So we are ending our time at the initial hospital stay in Norfolk at the end of February. We have been working on, we need a rehab facility. Please, Lord, let it be the Shepherd Center. I needed the best of the best to take care of my husband because I wanted every single part of his working mind and body back. So I wanted him to go to the best of the best. And we had to work out, does our insurance participate with it? And how do we transport him down there? Now, the Shepherd Center, not only is it the best place to go, but they really take care of family members. They would offer me an apartment for the first 30 days of Michael's stay at the hospital to live, which would be included in the bill of our time there. And so that was really, really wonderful. And you guys, Michael has a cousin. I have a cousin too. She lives 2.8 miles away from the Shepherd Center. Just to be in a new place in something as unfamiliar as a rehab hospital, but to know that family that I love dearly was right down the road with her warm, beautiful, inviting home, ready for me to stay in whenever I needed it. It was just totally the Lord's hand. Hey, I have prepared this place for you in Atlanta, Georgia, by your family. You will be taken care of. I will get to more of those details in a second, but so anyhow, this is what we were hoping for. And lo and behold, everything fell into place. Our insurance participated with it. Praise the Lord. Shepherd Center had a bed that it was going to open up on Thursday. Praise the Lord again. And all we had to do was figure out our transportation down there. Now, Atlanta, Georgia is an 11-hour car ride. So it would either be ambulance or a med air flight. Now, because Michael was still hooked up to everything. He had to be in a bed. He was still on a catheter and had all these things beeping around him. So he could not just be a normal passenger in a plane. So really, it was unappealing to consider an 11-hour ambulance drive. And so air transportation was the only way to go. So we had a third-party company that we were trying to get our insurance to participate with once again. And it ended up, they assured us that our insurance would retroactively cover the medical flight. Now, this medical flight down to Georgia cost $22,800. And our insurance first time through denied it, said, no, we can't cover it. Now, I had no choice but to get him down there in my mind, right? So if we don't get him down there, we could lose our spot at the hospital. They would give the bed to someone else in need. So it was time is of the essence. We must make this happen. So finally, I remember just somebody advising me, use the GoFundMe account, which are generous people. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for giving to us through the GoFundMe, because that is what helped us cover this immediate need of getting down to Atlanta. I was able to, in the middle of this crazy hospital day, I remember I had to go down to my bank, do a wire transfer in person. I could do it. I had to go do the wire transfer and get the money to Medway Air so that they could give the all clear to their medical flight team to make their way to Norfolk. It was just things that I've never done before. I didn't know the first thing about wire transfer. I didn't know the first thing about doing any of that. Now, whatever, maybe I should have known more, but at the time I didn't. And so I just remember driving my way over to our bank and running in there and being panicked. And I probably had tears in my eyes. And I remember going in there being I need someone to help me complete a wire transfer to get my husband down to his rehab facility. It's a big deal. I need to make this happen like today, right now. And they were so gracious and so kind. And the bank manager brought me back to her office and she sat down and she just wanted to verify that I indeed knew where the money was going to and this company was legit. And I was like, yes, because this is what happened. And like I spilled everything out there on the table and she was so compassionate. And I love them. And I still bank with him today. But that was just like the level of thing that I was doing in the midst of this trauma and chaos was just like, I really couldn't believe that I found myself in these positions. But anyhow, completed the wire transfer. And I know in hindsight, that's not that big of a deal. Now I've done it. I know I could do it again, but like that was a lot of money transferring it. And thank God that we had it. So we completed the wire transfer. The deposit was made on our plane that I had just chartered for the first time. And we were scheduled to get a Thursday, February 29th pickup from Norfolk Hospital. So that was all set in place. Now it was time to figure out how I leave my family for 8 weeks at least. And then I had to go pack bags. I didn't know what I needed. There was a list of items I should pack, but like, was Michael even going to fit in his clothes anymore? Like he had lost so much weight. I had to make sure he had like all the stretchy gym clothes. And then I had to pack myself stuff to survive for 8 weeks. It was a lot. I ended up packing suitcases, but then shipping them via UPS that same day because you could not fit luggage on this medical flight. You could only do a carry-on. So I had shipped our luggage via UPS, made the wire transfer, got home. Like I barely even had time to process, wow, I got to say goodbye to my children. This is going to be hard. This is going to be sad. So I still stuck with the plan of not letting the boys come into the hospital to see Michael. But I brought Carmen back for one more night just to say goodbye to Michael. And I prepped her, hey, it might not go well. Remember the last time you didn't like it? So we came in, it was the evening. Michael was more alert this time, but he also was really into hopping out of bed. And anytime he hopped out of bed, the bed alarms would go off and nurses would rush into the room. And he's still in this little hospital gown, which is totally open and exposed in the back. So Carmen and I walk in the room. We sit there on one side of the bed and, begin to chit chat with him. And he isn't too conversational. He doesn't really say anything, but he just all of a sudden kind of like rolls back and then hops out of bed and stands up. So bed alarms go off, like some of the wires pop out of his hand, his like telemonitor thing, stickies. He's like pulling those off and nurses rush in. Carmen and I are kind of just like, oh, this is weird to see Michael in this capacity. They come in and they try to get him to sit down, but he didn't want to sit down. And he looks at me straight in the eye across from the bed. And he goes, you are doing very, very poor. And I remember like my mouth dropped open because this is the first thing he said to me. He looked me straight in the eye and he talked to me. And he did it in front of Carmen. And he said, I was doing very, very poor. Not good, not great, poor. And Carmen starts giggling, which I admit it's funny. Some of the other nurses were also like mouth dropped open, like, oh, like, that's your wife, sir. You don't even know what she's just been through. But he stared me down and told me I was doing very, very poor. And I just remember being like, what is this life? Like, what? Wow. Anyhow, eventually we got him to sit down and Carmen said her goodbyes and I took her home and we just kind of chuckled about it on the way home. But, like he still hadn't said my name. He still doesn't recognize me, but yet he could stand up and look me in the eye and tell me that I was doing very poor. So the first thing my husband has said to me is that I am doing poor. We get ready to leave. Michael has a few episodes of what turns out to just be SVTs, which they had to determine were not anything related to his cardiac arrest. But they did scare me by saying, hey, if we don't figure out what is happening with his heart here, you're not going to be able to go, which of course like throws a wrench into your plans. Like, wow, we but I have a flight out of here. We got to get to a rehab hospital. Like we need to secure this bed for us. It was stressful on top of stressful. They ended up just being SVTs, and I can't even tell you what they stand for at the moment, but fine, normal. They determined over the course of like 24 hours that he could be released. Shepherd Center is also next door to Piedmont down in Atlanta. So there was a like rock solid cardio unit. If anything were to happen, he could just be wheeled across the hospital and taken care of. So great, we were fine. So I considered what were the things I would want to do to get him ready. Now, Michael was not really bathed during his time there, which is really gross. When you lay in a bed for that long, I mean, think of all the circumstances that you have just been through. Like, you don't smell good. And it, honestly, like it broke my heart to see Michael in that condition. And I just was like, I had asked the nurse, hey, can I help give him a shower before we travel? So we had arranged for the occupational therapist to come the morning of our flight to come and let's, do a shower together. And prior to that, they would bathe him, but it's more like they bring in their bag of baby wipes and they just like wipe down a leg, wipe down an arm, maybe wipe down an armpit. I don't even think they were doing armpits because I smelled it and they were not clean. But as his wife, I remember being like, hey, I would love to just like freshen him up. Like, can we shampoo his hair or something? Like, let's treat him like the man that he is. So the next morning, he got his first shower in 4 weeks, and it was in the room. There's a shower in the hospital room that he was in, and I mean, it didn't go that great. The therapist was helping him because remember, at any given moment, you had to have a professional standing with him. Like it couldn't be me; it had to be someone trained to stand with him. So they do the shower. It was funny. I mean, odd. It was a whatever. It was a first, and I was grateful we did it. And he did. He smelled fresh and clean, and it just like made my heart happy that we could take care of him in that little way. So we put him in his own clothes for the first time for travel. Like he got to wear his own underwear, pants, and t-shirt, socks, and shoes, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but after him laying in that hospital bed in a gown since February 5th, like to see him in his own clothes again was just like, wow, we have come so far. Like, what a cool moment. And I have some pictures that I will share on Instagram. So we got a shower that morning. I have our carry-on luggage waiting to go. And now we're just waiting for the medics to arrive. And they were a little delayed. And so we just spent a few hours sitting around his room. Once the medics finally got there, we had to put him on a gurney because he couldn't walk his own way. The medics come in and we do all the discharge paperwork with the hospital. And then I sign all the new papers for the flight. So we have 2 medics and 2 ambulance drivers, and we get wheeled out. I make sure everything is taken out of the room. I give it to Rebecca because she's there with me. She takes everything I can't bring with me, and we head down to an ambulance. So we get another ambulance ride. They take us to the Norfolk airport. Now, if you've ever chartered a private jet like I have, you get taken to the private airport side, which I didn't even know existed. So it's called like Signature Norfolk. I remember, I mean, I'm in the back of the hospital or the ambulance, and so I can kind of see where we're going. I actually couldn't even get you there to this day, but we go to Signature and the ambulance gets to drive out on the tarmac to where our little jet is parked. We get out and it's a beautiful sunny day. So like the first time Michael has seen fresh air, he's sitting in the gurney, totally like disoriented and confused and strapped in there. And he is trying to unbuckle, trying to get out, not really saying anything, but just very uncomfortable looking. I am able to kind of take in what the jet looks like. I meet the pilots. They kind of give me the rundown. Okay, this is what we're going to do. This is where the medics will be seated. This is where you will sit. Here's about how long we have. And they lift Michael up, roll him into this teeny little door of this plane, get him all situated, and then they let me climb in. Now, I don't love small planes. And I don't love heights. So I'm a lot anxious, honestly. This plane is small and tiny, and I knew that we were in good hands, but like, not only are we transitioning to something I have never done before, we've got all this medical trauma behind us, and I am leaving my family. I am in an unfamiliar place, and I don't like heights and flying in small planes. But that's the only way we were getting down there. So we get all situated. They go through the like emergency stuff they have to do. Michael is hooked up to an oxygen tank just for, was he? No, I can't remember, but I have a video, so I'll show that on Instagram as well. And our flight is a little over 2 hours. I guess smaller planes don't fly as high as bigger planes, so it took a little longer than a commercial jet. But we are flying, and it was like flying with a toddler in a plane packed with other humans that you did not want to stress out. So you as the mom are like taking on all the stress of your toddler being in the plane. Oh my gosh, it was one of the worst 2 hours. So at the head of the plane is one medic, and at the feet of Michael is the second medic. And I get this little seat right next to him. And he tried to climb out of his like 5-point harness for 2 hours straight. He tried to pull all the things off of him. It was awful. He didn't understand what we were doing. He kept unbuckling, and the medics like were far enough away that they really couldn't intervene. It was me. So I had to like constantly rebuckle him. And then he's still stronger than me. Even after having been in a bed for 4 weeks, he could still move my arms away and swat at me. And I'm continuously trying to buckle him. And he is mad, and his eyes, like they're unfamiliar looking eyes, like just this annoyance and this anger in them that I am not familiar with. So yay, this man child that I am buckling in for 2 hours in the airplane. I'm trying to hold it together, like trying to ignore my fear of heights. If I look out the window, I see like the ground of Virginia below me. And then I'm trying to not let there be chaos in this teeny tiny plane, because I could just see this 200-pound husband of mine. It was like strapping down a gorilla. And at one point, I was like, Lord, what do I do? And I remembered that my friends had given me this little travel bag of lotion. So I like got this bottle of lotion, and I just grabbed Michael's hand, and I just start like massaging his hand, massaging his fingers. I think that bought me like 10 minutes of rest. Nothing worked. So finally, we land on the ground at another private airport attached to the Atlanta airport. And we get off on the tarmac, and we're met with another ambulance. So it's my third ambulance I get to ride in. Super fun. Michael, by this point, has like had it. He wants to get out of his bed stroller strappy thing, but he can't. And we land in Atlanta like at, I don't know, 4 o'clock, 4:45. So we are driving in the middle of Atlanta traffic. So we were in the ambulance for a really long time, and Michael was just not great. So I'm anxious and exhausted, and we finally arrive at the Shepherd Center, what is technically after hours. So around 5:30, we arrive, and we're just kind of wheeled straight in, not really greeted with any instructions from my end, at least. The medics and the nurse that met them, they seemed to know what was going on, but I didn't. And I remember just being really overwhelmed. But here's the cool thing. So our friend Heath happened to be in Atlanta for like a work trip that same day, and he drove over, and he was waiting for us to arrive at the Shepherd Center. So we're being wheeled in to this new hospital. And there's my friend Heath, who spent time with us in the hospital. He's one of the guys who would take shifts overnight with Mike. And he was just there to greet me, gave me a hug, checked in on me, handed me this bag of like groceries, just snacks and food and water, things that I needed, honestly, immediately. And it was just such a sweet gift. Like, hey, even though you're in Atlanta, Georgia, you are surrounded by your people. And that's all. He met me and then left. But like the fact that he was able to do that was such a gift. So say goodbye, follow them through this maze of a new hospital, up an elevator into what becomes a very familiar corridor for me, but unfamiliar this time of night. And it was like I said, after hours. So it just, everything felt like it was shut down. I was like, where are the people? Where are the patients and doctors? And I just didn't see anybody. So we finally weave our way back to Michael's room, and it feels like another hospital. And they had to do like intake on him. So I'm signing documents for the medical flight, getting those medics out of there, getting the ambulance drivers out of there, passing on new patient Michael to the hospital where they've got to do all their checks of this new patient. Of course, he is not allowed to get up and move around on his own because they need to clear him first. So Michael is getting more and more agitated. And I do not know how much time passed, but I remember sitting in that room hungry. I have not eaten all day. Michael isn't eating either. And so, but who knows if he was hungry or what? He was just agitated. Um, the nurses are, coming in, introducing themselves, like writing down everything on this whiteboard that is normal information. But for me, it was just like this bucket of words and acronyms and things that made no sense to me. So I'm sitting in this corner seat, and Michael has to be restrained in his bed. And okay, I said gorilla earlier. I mean it. He was like a gorilla. He did not want to sleep. He kept crawling, getting on all fours. So they had to put a restraint belt on his waist. That didn't hold him. He somehow climbed out of that restraint belt. So then they had to put a restraint belt or restraint ties on his wrists. So now his wrists are tied down. His waist is tied down. And they put the mittens on his hands so that he can't undo the buckles. He, at one point, gets so angry. He's yelling and he yells, "Megan, help me get these off." And mind you, that is the first time he has said my name since his accident. He has not once given any indication that he remembers me or has said my name. So he just said my name, except he was yelling at me. And I am like in the corner, panicked, seeing my husband in this white room, tied down on this bed. He's visibly like, I've never seen him like it. They didn't mean it in a poor way, but it looked so bad to have him restrained to the bed. He was upset. And then he calls out for me in his distress. And so like on one hand, I'm like, you said my name. And one of the nurse was like, "Oh, Megan, is that your name?" And I was like, yes. And he said it. He knows it. Like, so that's good. But at the same time, like the waterworks start coming. I'm like, I can't, well, what is happening? And now also, this is the first time that I have really been alone with Michael. One of the benefits of being home in Virginia was we had people surrounding us at all times. Now, sometimes I kind of wanted solitude. So I was looking forward to getting to Atlanta with Michael. But this is the first time I've truly been alone with Michael. And seeing him respond this way in the bed was so scary and so wild. And now he's just yelled at me for help and said my name. So it's in there. He knows my name, but I kind of lost it after the day that we had. And I waited a little bit longer. The nurses, they're sweet, precious older women, they were no match for my still strong 39-year-old husband. It was like a movie, sitting in there watching what was happening. And finally, someone was like, "Hey, why don't you go? Here's your packet of where your room is, this apartment building that they gave you. Why don't you go get settled in?" And I was like, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Now, I think this is like 8 o'clock at night, maybe. So it's dark at the 8 o'clock at night in February, end of February. No one has showed me where I'm going. I don't know how to navigate Shepherd Center. I don't know where the apartment complex is. I must have looked like a deer in the headlights because one sweet receptionist like pointed me in the right direction, but still I have to like figure out what's in this envelope and like here's the key card, kind of like a hotel, but okay, and what is the name of my room? Like what room number am I? I had to look up all that information and trying to process this while in the middle of just experiencing everything I experienced, like it was hard. So I find the building, but it's next to the hospital, but you got to go down to the first floor, out the parking garage, and then up to your next building. So I managed to find my way to the second floor of the apartment complex, and I'm room 214, which just happens to be the very last room at the end of a long hallway. And the core memory I have of walking down there, like rolling my one carry-on suitcase, walking down this long hallway that had this particular smell to it. It kind of smelled like my first year college dorm at the University of Virginia, which I was in old dorms. So they're like old unair conditioned buildings. It just it just brought back some not comforting memories. So I just remember dragging my suitcase down this really long hallway all alone, just having experienced all that I had experienced that day with Michael, and like could feel just the isolation and the devastation and the despair sinking in. So I reach room 214, use the key card, open the door to the apartment, and I walk in and I was like, oh no. It was now the fact that Shepherd Center has these apartments for family members is incredibly generous and awesome. But this place felt so wrong. Like it just felt wrong for me to be in there. Like again, it didn't smell great. It reminded me of my first year dorm. It's a suite style. So there's a kitchenette and a pull-out couch and a shower and two single beds. But the beds, like even the bedding looked like old 1970s Days Inn material, like from an old motel even. And I was just like, this is where I'm supposed to stay and sleep. And I just, again, lost it. And I got out my phone and remember that cousin who lives 2.8 miles away. I immediately texted her. I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. Like, can you come get me? Now, she had offered, she was just more than accommodating like that whole day and that week leading up to it because she knew I was headed her direction. And she was just like, it was just understood if I needed her, she'd be there. Their guest room was mine if I needed it. She was like, let me send you food. So I couldn't do it that night. I was like, I can't, like the thought of me staying alone in this sterile room was too much. And so I SOS'd her. I was like, I need help, pick me up. And she said, okay, when do you want me there? And I was like, is 10:30 too late? Because I mean, we were getting late and I wanted to go back and check on Michael. So she sent me Shake Shack to the hospital, which totally arrived, but me being the newbie, I didn't know where to go when DoorDash arrived. So like 2 hours later, I was sitting there still starving, being like, where's my food? No one called me because it was after hours. It ended up being down the lobby, which I found at like 10 o'clock at night when I was heading out of the room. But it just added to the sadness of it all. So Caroline saves me. I leave feeling guilty that I've just left Michael strapped and fighting. And I think they gave him some meds to calm down, some anti-anxiety medication that night, because then Friday morning, all the intake stuff would start over. But so 10 o'clock at night, I wheel my little suitcase out to the lobby, to the street entrance of the Shepherd Center, and up comes my knight in shining armor. Caroline is there to pick me up. She puts my suitcase in. I finally have my Shake Shack in my lap, and she drives me 2 miles down the road to her warm, comfortable, familiar home where I get this giant guest bed to myself in this luxurious bathroom, and I just like fall apart. The tension of I wanted to stay in that room forever. I did not want to go back to where reality was. I did not want to wake up the next morning at 6 a.m. and get my way back to that hospital, to everything that was waiting for me. I just wanted to be there and pretend I was on vacation in Atlanta, staying in her guest room, visiting family, enjoying the city. But no, like my reality was, hey, something terrible just happened. Your life has changed forever. You are now in a rehab hospital. We don't know what's going on, but you got to get up the next morning and you got to get back to your husband who isn't acting anything like your husband and you got to get some answers. Needless to say, I didn't sleep that well that night, even though I was super comfortable. But I had decided, we're just going to do one night here. Then I'm going to go make it work because it is very convenient to be down the hall from Michael. And I was of the mindset of like, hey, I want to be next to him every minute that I can in case he wakes up, in case his memory comes back. I want to be there. And I wanted to learn. Like, I did not want to miss out on any bit of information that the doctors and the therapists had. So I was there. I was not in Atlanta to get a break. I was in Atlanta to learn and to be Michael's advocate. So, it was like game on from the moment I got there. So we enter a whole new chapter of what life was like for us in the Shepherd Center. And I will pick up with that next time because, wow, it gets just like the things that Michael did and what I learned and what I saw and experienced are it was rough. But that was the day that we traveled to Atlanta. And I'm so grateful for the little bits of home that were there and our friend Heath and God's provision to actually get us there with our transportation and the bed opening up and my cousin Caroline being there for me. Like, the Lord's hand was clearly still on it. Like, I knew that I had to walk through this hard. I knew we had to do this. I knew I had to get up the next morning, but just the reminder again of I wasn't doing this alone. Like, the Lord was with me and he gave me people in my life to be with me. I wasn't alone. All right. Thanks for listening. I will see you guys next time. I appreciate you. We'll be together next time.